What's happening, guys? This is Naman Anand, a developer slash designer based out in Bangalore, India. And in this particular video, I'll be taking you guys through a freelancing project I've got from a local startup. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. So the startup has provided me with a design requirement sheet. It's not too detailed, but it's enough for me to get started and produce my very first draft. So the startup has the business of selling clothing apparels offline, and now they want to expand their business using an e-commerce mobile application. Summarizing the document, they have attached some functional requirements for the application, which is pretty standard for an e-commerce application. And other than that, they've also attached a few colors that they want me to use while designing the application. And that's pretty much it. So one of the very first things that I do while starting out a new project is grabbing a notebook and brainstorming as much as I possibly can. And as you can see, I'm basically thinking of all possible activities my application can have without making the application too complex, because I feel there's always a simpler way of doing things if you think enough. And as I'm doing it, I'm also thinking of all the possible functionalities that can be embedded in every single screen. And when I'm done with this, I can start wiring up the screens together so that I can define navigations properly while designing the application without putting too much effort into it. So as soon as I'm done with the brainstorming session, I move all of my findings to a more permanent and search-friendly solution. In this case, it's Obsidian. So after listing all of the screens, we can move towards its functionalities. We'll be going through each one of them and utilizing it while we are actually designing the application in Figma. Now comes the best part of the entire video, design. Since we have all the screens well thought of, the entire process is going to be a breeze. Now usually I start with one or two options. The first one being starting off by creating wireframes and then analyzing the fonts, components and other repetitive elements used. And then I can start designing the components and then proceed to the main frame eventually. Since this is not my very first time designing an e-commerce application, so I already have a pretty good idea about the components. So we'll be skipping on the wireframe creation and we'll start designing the most common components and typography right away. So the step 0 in any project is establishing a baseline of what the client wants. In my case, it's pretty straightforward. I have been given an accent color around which the entire app's UI should be built. Using the accent color everywhere makes the app looks really boring, so it's good to have derivatives of the accent color. Once we're done, we have to take care of the background color. Since we're dealing with requirements for a light theme, the background and the font color are a no-brainer. And there we have our palette ready. Proceeding further, one of the most common components used in any sort of application is button and text views. Therefore, I'll try to think and design as many as I can. The intent here would be to create multiple buttons, but it should feel as if all of them has come from a singular parent button. It should have some sort of similarity between them. As you all can see, we have a pretty decent amount of buttons and I'm pretty satisfied with the result. Now comes the most recurring element of any development project, typography. Pre-building the typography always saves a lot of time for designers as well as for developers. So I'll try to create some of the most commonly used font styles for our application. Keep in mind the colors can be overridden during the design process, but everything else more or less will remain the same. So even our typography system is now ready. So a lot of you might be thinking, what exactly was the need for so many prerequisites? Well, you're kind of right, there wasn't. It was more like a want than a need. But since I've done all of the boring tasks at the very beginning, now my brain can actually do something that not even a single tool or machine in the entire world can. Invoking creativity and creating something from absolute nothingness. That's what brain is meant to do. So I'll essentially shut up and let you see the speed design of the application. I'll be back pretty soon. So the screens are ready as well, and I'm pretty satisfied with the result. And at this point, I'd like to mention that the designs aren't final. This is just the first draft that I'll be building upon after receiving feedback from the startup, and this is going to be a revision. Like I'm looking forward for a 2 to 3 revisions, and even more than that in some cases. Just before I end this video, I'd like to take a step further and show whatever we have built on a mobile device. And also, in case you made it this far, then I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. I won't ask you for a like or a comment or a share. I'll just ask you to have a great day. Stay creative, stay productive. Bye-bye.